can find out what they're struggling with or what they want more of. They can then help guide you in what to focus on in your business so that you can begin creating more money-making opportunities sooner than later. Hi, I'm Christina Barcy. Welcome to the Boss Goddess podcast. This is your invitation to step out of the hustle and into your purpose and passion. What's my secret? Podcasting. This is how I've up-leveled my life on multiple occasions when I was ready to bring my dreams to life. And it's how I help my clients realize their big dreams. This is where you become the boss goddess in your niche and gently bring your dreams to life. Did you know podcasting is a clarity companion? By just going through the process of creating your podcast, you will become more clear on your path forward. And what follows clarity? Confidence. If you're ready to take a step forward that follows your authenticity, meets you exactly where you are now in this moment, and will guide you forward in a creative and organic way, then I encourage you to explore what a podcast created by you could look like. You can get started with my free Activate Your Goddess Era with Podcasting guidebook, where you'll receive 5 days of gentle guidance and a resource to your inbox that will get you started in exploring this option as your next step to clarity, confidence, and maybe even the very foundation that will become your next brand or business. Just go to boss-goddess.co/activate or click the link in the show notes. One of the most confusing but common topics when it comes to podcasting is how to make money. I love this topic though, because podcasting is just like a business. It makes money based on whatever it is you want to create and offer around, which means you can make money with a podcast as many ways that you might make money with a business. There is another way podcasts and other platforms with large audiences do make money, and that is sponsorships. That's probably the way that you may have heard that podcasts make money. But those who have huge audiences in podcasting are less than the 1%. So it's not really the best strategy to focus on, especially if you're just starting out. And it's also not the way most podcasters are creating money with their podcast. So today I'm going to share with you 5 ways your podcast can make you money before you even have a business. And I chose these 5 things specifically because at this early stage of developing something new, whether that's a new business or a new way to create within your existing business, one of the key things that we get to develop as you are creating your podcast is also clarity and an audience. So these 5 ideas are not just ways to create money. They will help you develop a relationship with your audience and turn them into customers long term. And with each thing you try from the 5 ways to make money that I'll share with you, you'll also gain more clarity on what you like to create, but also what offers make sense for your growing audience, and then further define your business. So let's get into it. Number 1, creating partnerships with your guests. The number one thing all of my agency clients can agree on is that their guests are their most valuable asset to their business, because I've ensured that they are all using this strategy. By being strategic about who you invite onto your show, you can create a deep and generous relationship with people who you want in your network that might normally be more difficult to reach without a podcast. So by having your own podcast, you immediately have something of value to offer them. Then that relationship can be leveraged in a few different ways. Maybe you can add value to something they are creating, and you can charge a fee for participating as a contributing expert. Maybe they have an affiliate program that you can feature on future episodes of your podcast and then receive a payout when your audience buys their offer. And by the way, it's proven that it's much more likely that a listener will purchase something that's offered on your podcast that is from a previous guest. So this is now a common strategy in the sponsorship world, where someone will get a sponsorship and then they will invite the founder or representative of that brand onto the show to do a whole episode with them. And then their sponsorship is more convertible because they heard the authentic story from the brand. And then another one that you can leverage is the guest themselves. Maybe this guest is your perfect dream client for what you're either wanting to offer in the future or are already offering. So you can then choose your guests based on your ideal client type. So now you've created this super aligned and easeful sales funnel. I also want to preface this by saying that this doesn't mean you have to do this with every single guest. These are just ways you can start to consider leveraging guests when it makes sense to do so in some of these ways. It also doesn't mean that you can't have a primarily solo-driven podcast. I'm doing a solo episode for you right now, but I also often have guests on. When I was first starting out, I did all solos, and then I started to sprinkle in guests. So really, it's just when you want to start leveraging that, when it makes the most sense. But having a guest here or there can be a nice way to start tapping into some of these ideas. And I also want to share that this guesting strategy might be feeling a little advanced, especially if you aren't sure what your offer or business is quite yet. But I want to say that you can still leverage these ideas by choosing to try the affiliate program strategy. That's one that you can try right away without needing to have your own offer or even have a business yet. And when we're thinking about these guesting strategies, I want you to also consider the long-term vision here, which is that you are also building your network with your guests for any future collaborations or even referrals from them, something that every business thrives on. And again, having a podcast platform to invite them onto and highlight their work is a really amazing way to build a relationship from. Okay, number 2. Affiliate links. We just talked about how this can work with your guests, but you can also become an affiliate for things you use in your life or business that you feel are relevant to the audience that you're building and the topics that you're exploring. So for example, if you've been listening to my podcast recently, then you may have heard my affiliate link for Zach Spuckler's Facebook Ads Bootcamp. That campaign is now over, so you can't go back and listen to it. But if you did catch it, I took his bootcamp earlier this spring, and I loved it. In fact, if you found me or joined my email list from an Instagram or Facebook ad this year, then I got to invite you into my world thanks to what I learned from taking Zach's bootcamp. And I loved it so much, I also joined his membership because I just really enjoy the way he teaches and what he teaches. And I also think it's really relevant for you to learn how to market your offers once you're ready to do so, or if you already have a business, you can then implement Facebook and Instagram ads around your existing offers to potentially fund the new stuff that you're creating. So that's why I shared it with you. I felt like it could be relevant to what you're creating. And it worked for me, so I decided to share it as an affiliate link. I have a few other affiliate links that I feel are also so useful for soulpreneurs and emerging soulpreneurs like yourself. So I'm going to include those in the show notes, partially so that you have examples, but also because they are relevant to you. And then one in particular that I specifically want to point out that's related to podcasting and related to one of the 5 money-making ideas that I'm sharing with you today is Captivate.fm. So definitely check out that one. It's a podcast hosting platform that I recently moved this podcast to because I love their features so much. They have a lot of tools made for podcasters who have businesses. So I want you to start thinking about what kind of things in your life and or business that you love and use that you think would also be useful to your audience or your future audience that you can start sharing on your podcast, like I'm literally doing right now with you. Okay, so let's move on to number 3. A membership community. This is something I recommend you do even if you do not charge for it. But if you can charge even just $5 a month, then you can not only create some revenue to offset costs, but you can also really see who is willing to buy from you and who's really engaged. The long-term vision with this strategy is to really get to know this audience. When you get them into a community, you can start asking them questions. You can make them other offers, and you can find out what they're struggling with or what they want more of. They can then help guide you in what to focus on in your business so that you can begin creating more money-making opportunities sooner than later. There are many, many platforms out there now to create memberships with. I've tried so many of them, including your website oftentimes. So I don't want you to let the tech hold you back on how to launch a membership. It's much, much easier today than it was even a couple of years ago. So now moving on to number 4, a paid workshop. Once you have a few episodes released and you have some data that you can look at, because when you use a hosting platform, again, like Captivate, the one that I recently moved over to, you will get analytics that go with your show. And you can pick one of the most popular topics, one of your most popular episodes, and you can build a workshop around it. So maybe this is something that you offer once just to test it out, or maybe it's a series that goes inside of your membership that you charge them for. And then if it's a hit, you can record it and then sell the digital version of it. So then it can continue to make you money. So this is just another great way to start engaging with your audience too, when you make them an offer like a workshop, because they can give you feedback. Okay, and then lastly, number 5 is creating a course from your episodes, much like the workshop, but this time it's a course. So I've done this a few times myself, and the way I do it is I take an episode series and transform it into an audio course that I then add more to, like written materials or downloads, sometimes videos, sometimes it's a challenge. I've done it in several ways. There's almost always a journal practice because it just pairs so well with the type of work that I do. I've even paired it with a membership offer. So there's lots of ways to create a course idea. And then you already have the content from your episodes, and then you can just repurpose a few of those episodes that you're creating this course from into a private podcast and or an audio course. I usually pair the two together, so you have 2 different ways to access the audio course, and then you can sell that. So coming back to, again, Captivate. Captivate just fits into everything because it's a podcast hosting platform. So you can host your private podcast here too, in addition to your public podcast. One of the things that I loved about Captivate, and one of the reasons I moved my show over to it, is because it charges you a monthly fee for your podcast, and then it allows you to host as many podcasts, public or private, as you want. I believe there's a space limit at one point, but it's pretty wide in terms of how much you can do there, in terms of their like basic plan. So you can start as many podcasts as you want, basically, without having to pay for each one each time, which is how a lot of other hosting platforms are set up. So if I wanted to start another podcast on the platform I was on before, my fee would double. Okay, so here that doesn't happen. I'm paying the same fee, and I can now create and place my audio courses here, my private podcasts, and I can start a new podcast if I want to on something different, or if I want to, if you're experimenting, like you might be right now, because I'm making this episode specifically for you if you're just getting started. If you start a podcast and you do, let's say 10 to 20 episodes, and you're like, oh, okay, I figured out what I want to talk about, but I feel like I need to start over, then you can totally do that. And it kind of gives you the freedom to just start again without worrying about, paying double and what do I do with my old feed and like all of that. So it kind of just opens up the space to have more flexibility. And I love that. So all of my audio courses are also hosted on Captivate, because I do a lot of meditations, and I want you to be able to be away from your computer if you want to just listen to a meditation on the beach or something. So I really like this feature. And then the other thing it allows you to do is you can hide the episodes that you chose to use in your course from your public feed, so that it's not confusing to your audience to have the free version of the episodes and the course version. I think this money-making strategy is actually my personal favorite. I like to leverage this one. And that is it. There you have it. That's 5 ways your podcast can make you money before you even have a business. I would love to know which one resonates for you the most. Please share that with me in the form of an Apple Podcast review or as a comment below this episode in Spotify. If it's a comment, I can actually comment back to you if you decide to do the Spotify version. I look forward to hearing from you. Till next time, bye for now. Thank you so much for listening to the Boss Goddess podcast. And if you're ready to get started in exploring podcasting as an option for your next step to clarity, confidence, and maybe even the very foundation that will become your next brand or business, then go to boss-goddess.co/activate to get 5 days of gentle guidance and resources from me that will tap into your magic and your wisdom with my free Activate Your Goddess Era with Podcasting guidebook. Just go to boss-goddess.co/activate or click the link in the show notes.